How you doing, everyone? I'm Colin Egglesfield. Welcome to another episode of the Beyond Impact podcast. So today I've got a very special guest. She is someone who I look up to. She's a mentor of mine. She is someone who I've known for about, I'd say, a year or two now. She's someone who is someone who runs this amazing network called the C-Suite Network that Jeff Hazlett founded. And I've had Jeff on the podcast as well. And what we're going to be talking about today is success and impact and what she has done in her career to be able to get to where she's at, running this amazing organization and being such a inspiration to so many people, so many business owners, entrepreneurs. So all you entrepreneurs out there, all you coaches, speakers, business owners, this episode is going to be something you're not going to want to miss because we are going to be talking about what it takes to be successful at the highest level. We're going to be talking about what it takes to surround yourself with and the benefits of surrounding yourself with the kinds of people that you need to surround yourself with, that essentially the C-Suite network is all about. And we're also going to be talking about performance and talking and speaking from the stage, because she's someone who is she's got that charisma. I mean, if she wasn't doing what she was doing, I would say she would belong in Hollywood. And she is someone who, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, someone I look up to. So today I'm excited to welcome a true powerhouse in leadership and business transformation. Her name is Tricia Benn. She's the CEO of the C-Suite Network, with over 20 years of experience leading and scaling multi-billion-dollar organizations. Tricia has a proven track record of driving growth, innovation, and impact across industries, from media to telecommunications. As a trusted advisor to top executives and founders, she helps leaders navigate high-stakes decisions, accelerate growth, and lead with clarity and confidence. She's also the host of the acclaimed podcast and TV show C-Suite Success, and where she uncovers the strategies and mindset shifts behind the world's most influential leaders. Please welcome to the stage, ladies and gents, Miss Tricia Benn. How you doing, Tricia?
Hello. Hi, Colin. I am so thrilled to be here with you, and thank you for a beautiful introduction. The love language of what real success is so wonderful to hear. So you said you look up to me. I look up to you, and to create the space for this kind of conversation is so powerful and so important. So I'm thrilled to be here with you and everyone.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your time, and we've been trying to get this podcast. We've been trying to connect for this for quite some time now. Obviously, we've both been busy, and now that we're here, would love for you to just share in your words, for my audience, just to give them a snapshot in your own words of who you are and why you love doing what you do.
So you and I don't think we've had this conversation, but ironically, my degrees are in sociology and anthropology. So that doesn't necessarily lend itself to, so let's go out into business and build businesses and do all these different things that I've done in my career at all. In fact, even if I go back further, I was a competitive figure skater. We can talk about that more because there's definitely stage fright scenarios and all of that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then before that, I grew up on a farm, and on a farm, n- it's about survival in many ways, right? And I always say one of my foundational stories to help people understand who I am is I grew up on a farm, and there are only three states of being when you're born and raised on a farm that make life very simple to figure out. One is be useful. And I always say, spoiler alert, that's the only one you want to be, because the other two are dead and somebody's very upset that you died. That's not a good thing. Or useful dead. They're very happy because they get to eat you. So, they're yeah, right. So it simplifies things, Colin. You get what I'm saying? It's
Sounds
like
like it.
just be
Yeah.
useful. Nothing else matters. Just be useful. So that helps a lot. But what I found out after I did my degrees in sociology and anthropology, I lived in England for a couple of years in between my degrees. I got out into quote unquote the real world and realized that I absolutely passionately loved business. Love, love, love it. And the reason I do is because we have so much influence, so much power, real power, not power hungriness, but real ability to create success, create an opportunity for people to be doing something where they're valued and they have a mission that's more important than themselves, and they know what they're contributing to something that is going to have impact with others and create more success, etc. It is so incredibly motivating, and the rules are you just have to create a sustainable business model. It's very, very simple. So I couldn't love business more. And great business leaders are my absolute favorite people, because if we create sustainable business models, we create incredible success in our communities. And that is great, great business, because you're sharing a mission that matters and people are seeing success. So if I were to thumbnail the whole history of how I came to do what I do and why I love
Mhm.
it so passionately, that would be why.
So in terms of like, I like what you say about what brought you or what drew you to business was creating something. And I would say that's the same reason why I love to make movies, to be creative, to be able to create something out of nothing. And when it comes to creating a business, do you focus on, because as an entrepreneur myself, doing my speaking and my coaching, a lot of what I have been learning over the past few years, just from experts like yourself, it's identifying a problem, being the expert and owning the solution to that problem, and then being able to articulate to an audience how that problem can make their life better. When you start a business, or when you're thinking about business, what makes you passionate about business, other than being able to create something? And I guess this question is geared towards advice for business owners out there about
Mhm.
creating and being able to sustain a successful business. What would you say are some key success metrics in terms of having the right reasons for going into a business or starting a business? Because obviously, if you're going into a business just to make money, that's, I mean, obviously we all
The
love to make money, but on a deeper core purpose level reason, what's some advice you would advise business owners? Because obviously business is difficult, and sometimes I want to jump out the window because it's just so overwhelming at times. What's some advice that you give to some of your clients and people you talk to about starting businesses?
I love the way that you describe that, Colin, because it's true. Entrepreneurialism is one of the most difficult things you could ever put yourself, and certainly anyone dear to you, through. It is incredibly challenging. So you definitely want to do the things you said. You want to identify a pain point that you can solve for, and bring something to bear that's going to create success. And good business leaders want to have that delivery actually see that person succeed. That's where I make the difference, or delineate between people I want to support in C-suite network and with all of the different things that we do, versus those that I don't, because a lot of business is actually taking advantage of people who just don't know what they don't know. And I believe that is completely wrong. And I choose not to serve those people. So there's an example. You want to be very clear about who you want to serve as well. So there we go. I would also say you want to choose a mission that matters, that you can share with others. And that helps you, again, not only identify who your avatar is that you're wanting to serve, but also who you want to serve with. Because if you can find the people who understand that your mission is so valuable, so important, that when you succeed, they will succeed. The people they want to serve will succeed. Very, very important. There are so many other things you could say. There's a lot of messy in the middle for sure. Anyone who makes you feel like it's a cookie cutter, like a step one, step two, step three, and if you just follow their direction, you'll be there too, is lying to you. I will also say that there's some really simple pitfalls. I'll make you $1 million speaker your first year, and you
Mhm.
have no fame or business to speak of currently. Run away. But I would say, in addition to those things, and this is where a lot of a lot of people go astray. I don't care if you're in your career and you're working your way up the ladder as in, you want to get into the C-suite, you want to get into the executive, or you're building your own business, or you've launched a nonprofit, or you have your own speaking or your personal brand business. You have to stay close to the financials. And it's the
Mm.
financials. And this is where I've always used the imagery or the metaphor of a Rubik's Cube. There is nothing simple about it. And you get one side, you're thrilled. And what do you have to do to get two sides correct on a Rubik's Cube? You have to ruin the first side.
Mm.
So in essence, you're almost starting over again, right? So it's constant challenge, right? It's this puzzle you're working through. But at the end of the day, no matter what you're doing, which piece of that puzzle you're in, you have to stay close to your financials. And if you can figure out a sustainable financial model, then you create real success. So you don't want to be a martyr, and you don't want to be, excuse my language, but a greedy bastard, right?
Mhm.
You want to see people succeed with your success. So you've got to stay close to your financials and make sure you've got a model that creates sustainability and profitability to see that success. And then there are some common challenges, right? If you're looking at your personal brand, then you've got to look at how does 1 unit of time equal more than 1 unit of money? That because otherwise you there's only so much time. And then
Mhm.
if you're looking at scaling a business that's a company in and of itself, not just your personal brand with consulting or speaking or coaching, then on that side of things, you have to be able to scale and create infrastructure that supports a scalable business where others have responsibilities and are carrying forward the mission of the business and its success. So there are definitely a lot of pieces, but it's critical that that financial component is always there.
And because you do work with so many successful business owners, entrepreneurs, founders, what would you say are some of the distinguishing characteristics that make the, I guess, the more successful leaders and business owners compared to the ones that aren't? What are some of the hallmarks of success that you see in some of these entrepreneurs?
So one thing I would say is certainly that ability, and this gets into your incredible gift, that ability to share your mission. So being able to communicate effectively what your mission is
Mm.
and really articulate that in a way that others can own it. If there's that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. If you can't articulate why your mission is so important, what you're actually wanting to be able to deliver, that's going to be incredibly challenging. And I'll give you one specific example, although there are many, but one specific example of what I mean by that is you can have someone employed, and frequently people think, oh, the people on my team are the people I employ full time. Or you could even say maybe 1099s, I employ them, at least they're on my team, for that amount of time.
Mm.
You can go through and look at it from a perspective that that full-time employee may be actually working on a side job nearly all of the hours that you're currently fully employing them, the 1099, the same, etc. The other side of it, though, is you have people on your team that you are absolutely not paying, but they are entirely on your team and they can contribute in so many meaningful ways. So
Mm.
that mission and the communication of it is invaluable. I'd say the other side of it is also cutting out the noise. And that is definitely, I think, a challenge that gets bigger with time in
Harder
many
and
ways.
harder, especially nowadays. It's so difficult. Every time I scroll through Instagram, there's a new AI platform that promises to help you be more efficient and solve your problem and marketing and branding. And man, where do you know when to stop or start? Or that's where I find myself sometimes.
Yes, There's always a new shiny object. That is for sure. I
Yeah.
think for me, I'll joke. You've got to figure out what works for you and what makes sense and
Mhm.
how you split up your time, right? So if you really enjoy and you're passionate about playing with new toys, give yourself the time and feed your soul and all the things you need to do to play with those new toys. Doesn't necessarily going to adopt them into your, your everyday usage. If it is all just noise to you, or you want to be very much not on the playing side of this equation, then listen to others who you trust. What are they using? And, try to speed your way through it. And I often joke I'm either a Luddite or the absolute first, on board, one or the other, because if I have something that's working for me, I am not going to drop it until I have to. And then if I
Mhm.
have something that is a really big pain point for me and I discover something new, I don't care who else is using it, I'm on it and I'm going to be using that and pushing that forward as an opportunity.
And speaking of AI, how do you see artificial intelligence impacting businesses and society in general in the next 5 years or so? As a business owner and being at the C-suite, I've been on some of the mastermind calls where AI has been brought up. You hear a lot about how AI is not going to necessarily replace people, but it's going to in their jobs, but it is going to create a lot of opportunity for people in new avenues. How would you see AI as is being integrated into entrepreneurship and businesses in general?
It's so interesting to me. We were talking about noise. I think whatever your proclivities are, glass half empty, glass half full, you're going to hear the noise that supports what you think and kind of go down that track. So I feel as a business leader, for me, I want to be really solidly down the middle as much as I can, listening, and incorporating, and acting with intention and purpose. Uh, Down the middle as much as I possibly can. As I said, though, I've got the Luddite, I'm not letting this go. And I've got a pain point this can solve for. So I like to just be monitoring constantly. I think with AI, it's ironic being asked that question specifically today because I was listening to the news this morning with all kinds of layoffs that are being blamed on AI. Uh, Creating efficiencies where thousands of jobs needed to be let go. And even that I listen to and think, is it is it really AI that's creating that? Or is it a wonderful excuse right now? And there's lots of noise, and people expect to hear those kinds of announcements right now. Is it an easier way to say we have, mass layoffs for a larger entity, which will be challenged now because, in a lot of ways, the technology that we have available to us has democratized access and created
Mm.
massive efficiencies for small entities that can take advantage of the new technologies. So at the end of the day, Colin, I would say I am a glass half full person. I'm old
Mhm.
enough to have gone through many of the this is the end of the world scenarios, including most recently, of course, COVID. But at the end of the day, we keep trucking on, and it's figuring out how do we use these disruptions. And I love disruption. I'm so sad that people don't like that word. I love that word. It
Yeah, it can be
means that
very
there's
scary.
opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. It can be scary for a lot of people, and as an actor, there's a lot of change and there's a lot of uncertainty, and one of the reasons why I titled my book Agile Artist was because in order to be successful in life, it really is all about leaning into and embracing the ability to change and adapt. And
Hmm.
because things are moving so quickly nowadays, it's not really necessarily a choice anymore. It's a matter of
Yeah.
survival. And when email came out, you heard a lot of people, well, I'm not doing that. That's whatever, I'm
Mhm.
going to stick to the phone. And whether you want to adopt it or not, it's here to stay. And it's, I think we can settle into this false sense of being comfortable and liking where we are at. And you look what happened to Blockbuster Video, where they thought, well, and they had the opportunity to buy Netflix when Netflix was coming to market and really starting to grow. They actually needed a capital infusion, and they went to Blockbuster, and Blockbuster was like, no, I think people love getting in their cars and driving to Blockbuster and looking to rent DVDs, and then they pick the favorite one, and then it's not in stock, and then they're going to buy some stale licorice that's been sitting on the counter for 5 weeks or whatever it is. So I think it really is. It behooves people to really embrace some of these newer technologies. It's hard to know where to start. So I guess my next
You
question
know,
is, well, yeah, if you want to interject, go ahead.
oh my goodness, I so want to. I'm so excited about this conversation because I have another chapter. So, so I was sharing how dedicated I cannot emphasize enough how devoted I am to business model being critical. So there are two things. One, I want to say, look at you, Colin. You said I'm an actor, and you are absolutely incredible, right? When you're in the room,
Thank you.
you have a you have a depth to you and a heart and soul that is conveyed. And I love it that you're doing this podcast because it's not just a shiny, flat, two-dimensional object. You make yourself real. And I know that there's so much depth to you that there's a big part of you that's very comfortable being alone and being quiet and
Mhm.
not having to be here on center stage and the ability to create the financial model around what it means to be the actor you are is 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 where that flexibility comes in, right? Where that adaptability comes in. And I think that's extraordinary and amazing. And you live that example every day. So I want to thank you for that. And
Thank you.
the other chapter, you're very welcome. And then the other chapter that I want to add is I know Jim Keys. And I had a conversation with him very recently on my podcast and TV show. He
Who is this?
was the CEO. Okay, so he was the CEO of Blockbuster when all of this happened.
Oh, okay.
And here's the thing I didn't know and nobody knows. He does interviews and he's so fascinating. I need to introduce him to you, Colin. He flies and he knows all kinds of astronauts and he was the global CEO of 7-Eleven and turned that around during its financial challenges and he's just this fascinating man who's taking on education in America right now. And so there's all these other conversations. But I talked to him, CEO to CEO. I want to know what really happened. And it turns out this whole notion that they thought it would go on forever, whatever, that actually wasn't the story. What was really happening, and this comes back to the whole financial model piece, is it was a cash flow issue. It was a cash flow issue, which is the biggest challenge every CEO from a small to mid to enterprise sized organization has. And it was a cash flow issue. And what happened was, and this is what he shared with me on this podcast. I had no idea we were going to have this conversation. It was very
Yeah.
recently, just released. But he shared that he had cash like thrown at him. And because they were in such a good cash position, he didn't take it from the banks, etc. Well, then we went into a downturn just a few months later, and he couldn't get any cash. And he was in a deal with Google right at the very same time. So he had a signed contract ready to go. But because it was rumored that they were going to go bankrupt, the deal fell through at the very last minute. And so it literally had
Um,
nothing to do with the technology. It was the cash flow. It's the business model. So his regret was that he didn't take the money. And this is where, when it comes to us as business leaders and the mission, the purpose, the values that we want to bring forward in terms of who we're serving, how we're serving them, the success they'll see when we're successful, all of those things critically important. equally so is that business model, so that we can see real success that's sustainable. You start talking about legacy, you know, then
Mhm.
again, you can't help but think to what is that legacy of financial model to keep those things going that you want to have moving forward, beyond your own career lifespan.
Well, I think this leads nicely into talking about the C-suite network, because C-suite is all about educating and supporting business owners, small, big, uh, all across the gamut. And if you could share with us, as the CEO of the C-suite network, what is it? Why? What are the benefits of it? Why would you encourage small business owners, big business owners, to be a part of it? I've been a part of it now for a couple of years, and from my personal experience, I'm telling you, it is a list business owners. Every time I jump on there, I always learn something new. It's great to surround yourself with people who are equally inspired and driven and motivated to make changes and, like you said, disrupt and create all kinds of new things in the marketplace to
Mhm.
make our lives better. Share with us a little bit about what the C-suite network is, and a little bit about Jeff Hazlett himself.
Yes, of course. Okay, so C-Suite Network, our brand promise is accelerated success for great business leaders. That's the simplest way I can put our brand promise. We have a tagline of the most trusted network. So we're constantly vetting through who does what they say they will do, who shows up when they say they will, all of those kinds of things that we know that they're delivering success to others within the community and so on. And then our own business model, and our whole ecosystem is developed based on our values. So we have our principles of relevancy, reach, reciprocity, and respect. And that means that we're very, very clear in terms of what a values-based leader is to us, and then how we'll deliver success through the ecosystem. So everybody's a vice president or above, and at the end of the day, all committed to that success. We cover the full gamut. So in terms of the platform that we use to deliver that success, the formula that we use is content equals community equals commerce. So externally, that's what we speak to. Internally, I'll put my CEO hat on for a moment. We have counsel as a fourth C in there, because we want to make sure that people are being counseled appropriately. And this is where the disruption that we were talking about earlier really comes in, Colin, because if you're a vice president or above, you should, and I hate to use that word, I seldom do. I joke, don't should on people. It's not fair. Um, but at a vice president level and above, we know what is wrong about our industries. Maybe just wrong or unethical, through to
Mhm.
illegal but accepted, or just illegal but nobody really calls it out for various reasons. And we all know those things, right? If I were to say in the acting space, Colin, you and I over drinks could sit down for hours and you could tell me the things that you know are wrong, right? That should be different, right? Ranging
Mhm.
that whole gamut. I could do that about the industries that I've worked in and so on. The thing is, when you're values based and you know that you can create a great business correcting for those things,
Mm.
then you're on to something and that's where really powerful missions come from, I believe. So we want to build against those pillars. So we've got over 600 events that we run a year.
Wow.
We just relaunched the website, so I can confirm that we have trillions of pieces of data on our website. Over the course of the last 12, almost 13 years, we've had thousands of people contributing content. We have over 500 podcasters that we distribute their content. We've got just everything we can do that we can create accelerated success for a great business leader and for other leaders who are needing that product or service. Some of the new things we've launched are C-suite finance. Who
Mm.
can say that they have a place to send people where competitive organizations will collaborate, partner, and put a plan together for you that's actually the best one for you from a financial, business, personal, product and service perspective? None. But I can say that because we have the C-suite finance council where I'm watching this happen with business leaders that are coming into the C-suite finance council. We are also launching our C-suite marketing services and marketing council. And so we can continue our brand of most trusted, having a center of excellence. AI is coming up in Phoenix, and I get to be there soon
All
to
right.
be launching. Yeah, to be launching that. So lots of really exciting things that we're building out across the whole platform. For authors, we have our C-suite publishing, and we have our
Mhm.
contributor services, and all kinds of different things to see our authors and creators successful. We've made a brand promise. We do not own the content or the IP of anyone we serve. So that is a big, big decision. Many people are surprised to learn they don't even own their podcast content, or they don't own their their book content or their digital content, etc. In C-Suite Network, we are a distribution partner to see our leaders succeed. We do not own any of the IP. And we're very proud of that because we want to see our creators be able to own their own content and be successful with it. So there are a number of things that we do, obviously, but at the end of the day, we've also created a financial model that is disruptive. You can start out in C-Suite Network at $100 a month, and you have a whole business in a box handed to you. Limitless CRM, landing pages, sales funnels, social media scheduler, calendar links, etc. And all of the, lots. I mean, of the 600 events, lots of those are open to our general membership. And
Mhm.
so that's education and motivation, inspiration, opportunities for obviously doing business together with great people, and then we go from there in terms of opportunities that make sense. So nobody's going to go bankrupt finding out that their business model is not working this way and they need to tweak it that way. You can
Yeah.
jump in where it makes sense for you. Do it yourself, do it with others, or have it all done for you. So that's our model to create the financial sustainability around creating success for those we serve.
Yeah. As a member, I can honestly say it's been huge impact for me and increasing my knowledge base about everything entrepreneurship and business and just great networking as well. And one of the things that Jeff really has been highlighting a lot lately is the importance of getting your message out there. And one of the best ways to do that, and obviously cutting through the noise of social media and all that, and to create
Mm.
yourself as the authority in your space is through podcasting. Can you tell us a little bit about what it is, or what are the benefits of starting your own podcast? What are some of the barriers, and why C-Suite makes it so easy for people to start their own podcast and to get it out there?
So you had mentioned Jeffrey, and Jeffrey is our founder. He is our chairman. He's the former global CMO of Eastman Kodak. I always joke I was a global CMO, but when I share that Jeffrey had a 17 billion, that's with a B, $1 billion budget, the mic has been dropped, and I don't even talk about what my budget
That's
was.
crazy.
He's absolutely phenomenal and has accomplished so much, and we learned the hard way. He was very early on with his podcast. In fact, I think the first episode was Gene Simmons, because of course he was on Celebrity
Cool.
Apprentice, and
Nice.
had some really heated conversations with Gene Simmons, and some great conversations, of course. But lots of great opportunity. And we learned with that and the TV show. He was on Bloomberg, and did some fantastic work. What does it look like to be in the boardroom and of various companies, and make changes and find out how big decisions were made and those kinds of things. And so very much on the cutting edge, and also the challenges and the enormous costs and all these things that have changed so dramatically over the last 12 to 15 years. So
Mm.
what we've done is we've taken the respect of that position of being a business leader who's looking at how we're using our content to see success in our business, and then making it as simple as we possibly can, knowing everything we know about the industry. So again, with that, what we've done is we've got different partnerships that allow us to distribute our content across 1900 engines. So everywhere you look for podcasts, you'll find our podcast, and then also simplify the process. Now you can go out and you can spend hundreds of thousands if you want, but you can also keep things very, very simple, very, very affordable. We distribute with a $250 a month package that also includes our membership, also the business package that I'm telling you about,
Mhm.
and the ability to post on our website as many times as you'd like, et cetera, et cetera. It's how we simplify things. And then, of course, if you're using it strategically, you're doing interviews with people that you want to be able to showcase or associate yourself with, and of course, all of their network. And then
Mhm.
also the other way around. And so it becomes an opportunity where you can be very, very strategic about interviewing those that you want to do business with, and of course, showcasing those that you're doing business with to elevate and create opportunity to celebrate what they're doing with you and the fact that you appreciate them. And it's meaningful. I feel, to have this time together is so powerful, so meaningful. And I know we're having you on my podcast as well, Colin, and I can't wait. It's
Me
that
too.
opportunity where you really do connect and bond, and you think of ways that you can be doing things together because you talk differently
Mhm.
than you would if you weren't actually recording and doing a podcast. So that's fun too.
So obviously, you're an amazing communicator, and you
Thank
have you're great at articulating and expressing your point of view and things that you want to say. I It amazes me sometimes when I do meet leaders, CEOs who just lack the ability to truly communicate a vision or a mission or uh, the direction of where they're going. And I've been on plenty of movie sets where there have been great directors who've been able to communicate to all the different departments. And I see movie sets very similar to corporations and organizations because
you. Yeah.
there's all these different departments on a film set, similar to in an organization or a corporation. And the best leaders, whether that's a director or a CEO, I've always noticed they've been able to speak the language of all the individual departments, but then they've been also really great at inspiring people to believe in and to want to work towards fulfilling on that inspirational vision and telling the story of whether that's the film story or whether that's the story of the company. And what I like to do is when I go and speak at corporations and organizations is connect everyone in that room to what is the bigger overall legacy story that you guys are trying to tell. Otherwise,
Mhm.
why would you come in here and all these complete strangers from all these different places doing all these different things, pushing paper, emails, having 20 meetings a day? What is the deeper reason why you are doing this? Because if you're not connected to that bigger, more purposeful reason and what story you're telling, I've seen it. Actors will be on the stage in the same scene, but they are telling two completely different stories.
Yeah.
So, what would you say is the importance of business owners, leaders, founders to really understand the importance of knowing the vision and the art of storytelling and how important it is to be able to communicate that vision to not only their employees but to the marketplace. Can you speak to that?
I'm grateful to. It is so important, and your analogy is perfect. I think the irony about business, and I think it's either sad or I either feel sad or angry, depending on how it hits. But the arrogance and the lack of confidence to appreciate experience, like what you're talking about, the movie set scenario, identical. Identical.
Mhm.
When you look at veterans, identical. Except in their case, life truly is on the line. Now, I know on some movie
Mhm.
sets that's also true. So,
Yeah.
perhaps, very similar in many ways. The if you look at stay-at-home moms, the head of household, in terms of what is it, the CEO of the house, and obviously we have dads as well. My husband was a stay-at-home dad for many years. You know, underestimating, undervaluing those similarities, I think, is such a massive mistake. So that's one thing, and then that just speaks to empathy and also understanding of value, which to me, great leaders have a natural ability to relate that way. If you
Mm.
have difficulties relating that way, that's a really big challenge. And I mentioned about being raised on a farm. My mom's a veterinarian, was a horse person. My dad was a jockey, obviously a horse person. There were no gentle ways of doing things, So, that would be kind of thing where my mom would say, you need to be brought down a peg or two if you don't understand or you can't relate to others.
Mhm.
That's why I say sad to angry, because when people are condescended to, when they bring tremendous experience into the business world, just because you don't use the same language doesn't mean you don't have tremendous value to bring. um,
Mhm.
the other thing I would say is that ability to communicate is really critical, and it's everything. And I know this, Colin, and so I am, like, thank you for saying that I'm a good communicator. It's something that you definitely need to work at, and you're changing
Mhm.
through life. I'm 54 years old now. When I was in my, I was 27 and size zero, and literally I had a lot of training, and I actually had a lot of world's experience, but I looked like I was about 10 years old and was treated as such in some ways, like,
Yeah.
and I'd get so frustrated. And then, I reached a point where it's like, oh, wait, I don't take me that seriously. I was just joking. um, so it changes with time as well.
Mhm.
There's nothing there is nothing that is set in stone. So, that's one thing we haven't talked about yet, is just gratitude. I mean, I try to be grateful for every moment and every experience and every journey that I get to be on with people that I genuinely care for, that I see are striving to create that success, like you are, Colin. It's just, to me, it's everything. Um,
Mhm.
so, so anyway,
I
at the end
agree.
of the day,
Yeah.
somebody who can help you see yourself, because you have to see yourself first, understand and articulate your mission and what you want to be able to do, and then stand on stage and create authentic space to be able to deliver that.
Mhm.
It is everything, and it's never ending.
And it's not easy. And I'd
Not
like
easy.
to talk to you about that. Speaking of being on the stage, as someone who grew up as a competitive figure skater, you're no stranger to needing to be able to deal with nerves and being able to perform at your best when the pressure is on. And as an athlete playing college in high school football, I've always been driven and motivated by competition, and that's part of what I love about acting as well, is that you never know what the outcome is going to be, and it's an opportunity to continue to learn, and provides the opportunity for, at least from my experiences when I was auditioning for the first time, it can be such an uncomfortable experience standing up in front of a group of people and having them decide whether or not they want to hire you for a job, or if you're getting up in front of a group of people to give a keynote or a presentation at work. I just remember when I was younger, all the nerves and the adrenaline and the hyperventilating and not being able to breathe, and the anxiety and the stress, all coming from the fear of being judged. And what I loved about my acting classes was that it really taught me how to overcome that fear and that anxiety. It gave me some tools, some breath work stuff, some preparatory stuff to be able to analyze and and have these frameworks to be able to create and craft effective and impactful communication. So I started to feel like I was walking into these rooms as an actor now, armed with some of this information and insight to be able to really practice it. And it didn't always go
Mhm.
well. But this is what I teach some of my clients, some of the stagecraft and insight, these insight principles for performance and delivering impactful communication, how to articulate your message and communicate it and connect it to audiences, because audiences, we all have different listening and learning types. And so from your perspective in the field of being a high performer and dealing with some of these nerves that you may have had to deal with, what have been some of your practices and techniques that you utilize to be able to stand up confidently in front of a group of people, or to be able to figure skate in front of an arena of thousands of people? If you could share some of your techniques and secret insider tips for us for speaking on stages and just confidently delivering your communication.
Well, first I'd say work with Colin, work with Colin, work with Colin, work with Colin, because the fact of the matter is, the one thing about when you're younger is you really don't know who you are, and
Right.
nobody does. So that's something that's kind of off the table in many ways, which is much simpler. As you
Yeah.
get older, you start to acquaint yourself with yourself so much more that the noise in here is way worse than the noise outside, right? So
Mhm.
so um so work with Colin, work with Colin, work with Colin. But the one thing I will say that was kind of ironic for me is, in my figure skating days, we had just discovered that the Russians, who always performed exceptionally, did visualization,
Mm.
which not too long ago became meditation, and various other more progressive names. But at the end of the day, that visualization I was taught very, very young, because of course I trained at the Olympic Training Center. So, we had
Mm.
everything: nutritionists, psychologists, I mean, literally, you name it. And so the visualization was exactly what your performance would be, how it would feel, feeling the cold air. Doing every move absolutely perfectly, with joy, with energy, with all of those things. And absolutely carried it forward. And I'm embarrassed to say that I think it's only, I don't know, within the last 5 years for sure. Maybe, I know it's not 5 months. Recently, I was like, oh, that's the same thing. And yeah, I still do that. When I go to sleep, if I'm worried about something, I just walk through how it's going to feel to do it exactly the way I want to. And that's a
Mm.
very soothing thing for going to sleep. And also, there's no room for noise. When your head is helping you visualize everything that's going to go beautifully and how good your body will feel, and your mind, your soul, obviously, but you're feeling it physically, which is really important in terms of occupying everything toward the good things you want to see. Um, the other thing I'd say is a superpower that all of us have that we're not tapping into most of the time. And this is something I live on now, because I am traveling every week. We run over 600 events a year and speak at however many others. The 600 is just C-suite named events. We partner and
Mm.
speak at all kinds of other events and so on. And then of course we have all of the things in the business, and all of our partnerships and so on, and the team, and on and on. So my time is very restricted in some ways, and completely wide open and purposeful in others. I don't know. It's an interesting dynamic. But what I have really noticed, and the reason that I have very little noise going on in my head, or that interferes with me, is that I am so mission driven. I don't have time for it.
Mm.
And that's a superpower for all of us. It's I wish I had time to worry about that, but I really don't, because I've got this really important mission, and I'm going to deliver on it no matter what. And that's why, again, teams are so important. When it's not just about you. We've got a mission that's absolutely critical, and I'm not letting my team down. Most people are very surprised, Colin, to know that I am almost 50% introvert, and yet I am out
Mhm.
speaking and consulting. I just running strat plans for people. I mean, literally, I do any number of things on the same day.
Do you still get the
To
butterflies when you have to get up and present or talk?
Do you know, there are times, so I think your blood should always go up. Like I think you should always have like an extra little burst of energy, or like, how do I want this to go, or whatever. Yeah, otherwise you end up in that sort of like robotic, I'm going to do the same thing I've done every other
Yeah.
time, and that's just deadening for everybody. So
Yeah.
so so yes to that. Um, Occasionally I'd say real butterflies where I'm for some reason, but they're shut down very, very quickly, because again, if I'm tapping into the mission and how much I am not letting my team down. Like, Colin, you could ask me to do just about anything. And if it's something that's even remotely possible for me to do, I will do anything I can to make that happen, even
That's
if
why
it is.
everyone loves you, Tricia, because that's who
but,
you
but
are.
I'm not going to let you down. You've done all of this, and and you need me to do that. I'm
Yeah.
in. Like, how do I make that happen? And thank you. I mean, it's what you do, and that's why having great people around you. And here's the thing: you say that about me. I know you do the same for me.
Mhm.
This is you surround yourself with great people. You're on a mission that matters. You're delivering, and that's where you call on, hey, I can do this. I feel like almost like kids in the playground. It's like, we need to do this. Okay, who's got that? You got this kind of
Mhm.
ball. Okay, I got this. Whatever. I don't know, whatever we need, and we're gonna get it done.
Yeah.
Um, and you can play and you can have fun and you can. Here's the other thing: for God's sake, let go of the whole notion of failure.
Mhm.
I am so sick to death of that concept. Who
Yeah.
cares? We all fall down. We all look stupid. We all do dumb things.
It's part of the
We all
game.
make
It's
mistakes.
just
It's
yeah.
being human. It's just
Yeah.
being human. Who cares? And if you do something really, really stupid, you may as well lean in. because
Mhm.
because there are lots of us out there that probably did the same stupid thing. Or we learned something. This is the real truth: is you learn something that didn't work. Great. It may be something
Mhm.
that works beautifully for someone you care about in the future, or you learn never to do it again because it just doesn't work for you, or it works for
Mhm.
you in the future because circumstances have changed. And that's valuable information. Failure to me is you sit down and you just don't get up again. Okay, I'll agree you failed, but otherwise, no, you're learning.
Yep. Yep. That's a big part of who you are in the C-suite. What the C-suite the C-suite network is all about is just providing that mentorship and support, especially on those days when you're just feeling alone and disconnected and feeling like you've tried everything and it's not working. And I would encourage anyone
Yeah.
out there who's listening to this podcast to check out the C-suite network. Check out Tricia. You can connect with her on Instagram at Tricia Benn. You can reach out to her on Facebook at the C-suite network and Tricia Benn, and LinkedIn, C-suite network, Tricia Benn. How else can people connect with you, Tricia, for your podcast? And if there's anything else you'd like to share with us before we wrap up here.
Thank you so much, Colin. My email address is just Tricia at csuitenetwork.com. So TRICIA, and C is C dash suite, SUITE network.com. That would be wonderful. The podcast is called C-Suite Success with Tricia Benn, and that's on anywhere that you watch your podcasts. And I'm just so grateful, Colin, and excited about the new films that you have coming out. And I'm going to be doing whatever I can on my
Yeah,
social
Greg.
to activate and celebrate. And also, I love what you shared about the days that kick your ass, because there are more of those days than the other ones. And again, that
Mhm.
community, we always say, like, there's a shoulder, and anyone who acts like they don't have those days is lying to you and trying to
Mhm.
sell you something. And I would say that something isn't real if they're having to lie to you about who they are. And I think that's, a big part of your message, Colin, is how to show up authentically, being who you are, and allowing people to really wrap around to that in your mission.
Thanks, Tricia. I appreciate that. And same thing with you. I just always appreciate how real and down to earth and how helpful you've been towards me whenever we've met and seen each other at the events. And you've just, again, been a huge inspiration for me. And I appreciate all the impact that you've made in my life. And as we wrap up here, if you could share with my audience, what is the type of impact that you're looking to make in the world and the legacy that you'd like to leave?
Oh my goodness, that's such a perfect question right now. I just got back from hosting Thought Council and Hero Club of C-Suite Network at Crazy Horse in South Dakota, and the Julkowski family, starting with the father, took on a 150-year startup, or a 150-year commitment to carve Crazy Horse out of Thunderbolt Mountain, and which is in Custer and only 6 miles from Mount Rushmore, a dedication to Crazy Horse and all the First Nations, American Indians of America. And that legacy of telling the story of the First Nations of America, and the sculpting of Crazy Horse, is one where my biggest takeaway was that my legacy, our legacy here in C-Suite Network, is to support great business leaders making that difference. And this is what Crazy Horse did. He protected those around him. He fed the people in his community before he ate. He was a protector and a warrior, and that's what we are in business, when we're doing things
Mhm.
that serve others and see their success and make our communities better because of it. So that's the legacy that I want to leave, is the excitement and the honor and the responsibility of creating great businesses that serve, and have the sustainability to continue to serve beyond our lifetimes.
Beautiful. Well said. Trisha, thank you so much for your time, for your contribution, and look forward to seeing you next time in person.
I can't wait. I'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks again. Take care. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, if you like what you have to see here, please subscribe, like, and share. And we just want to say thank you again to Tricia for being here today to share again her time and her contribution. If you're looking for more insight and information about how she can potentially support you and the C-Suite Network with where you're at, I highly, highly, highly encourage you to reach out, check out the C-Suite Network. It's been incredibly impactful in my life, and you can't go wrong. Jeff Hazlett, again, was actually the first guest on my Beyond Impact podcast, so be sure to check that out. And I've got some really cool things coming up, as we were talking about earlier. My latest movie, Beyond, or it's actually Where the Wind Blows, just came out last week, so you can check that out on all streaming platforms. It stars Ashley Elaine, Trevor Donovan, myself, Rob Mays, Michelle Hurd, Lachlan Murdoch, and it's about a cowboy who falls in love with a beautiful woman, and it's based on the best-selling novel by Carolyn Fife. And I was just on set shooting 2 back-to-back movies, so it's been a pretty busy past couple of months. But I just have to say that wherever you are at, whatever you are doing, don't give up on your dream, because it is so important to just keep that ember and that flicker of what inspires you to keep it going. I've been acting now for 25 years, and as Tricia and I were talking about earlier, there are days when it is excruciatingly tough. And that's why it's so important to surround yourself with people who support you, who champion you, who see what is the best in you. And that's why I love being a part of masterminds and groups like the C-Suite Network, and surrounding myself like Tricia. And if you're interested in connecting with these kinds of people to continue to inspire you, to encourage you to be your best and to make that impact in the world, again, I'd highly encourage you to check out the C-Suite Network and myself. You can email me at info@colinegglesfield.com. We've got some exciting things coming up. I've got my Inspire course, which is my 6-week Inspire boot camp coming up the beginning of the year. I've got my next retreat we're planning for, looks like April of 2026. And just a lot of really great things coming up down the pipeline here soon. So thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in, and have an amazing week. Keep making your impact. Keep believing in yourself. And if I can support you in any way, just let me know. Take care.